Hello everyone, and welcome back to ABG's Investor Days. My name is Carl Bokvist, and I'm an industrial analyst here at ABG, responsible for covering the company we are about to listen to now, CTT Systems. With us today, we have the pleasure of hosting CEO Torbjörn Johansson. Torbjörn, thank you for joining us, and please go ahead. We will start off with an introductory presentation and then hopefully followed up by some questions.
Okay, I take the next slide. Okay, it's me, Torbjörn Johansson, CEO, that make the presentation. We at CTT, we are working with humidity control in aircraft. We increase the humidity in long-haul aircraft, and we take away condensed water on all types of aircraft, but especially narrow-body aircraft. We deliver humidifiers and dehumidifiers. During the pandemic, of course, CTT has been hit by the pandemic. We have lost a lot of our sales, but we have started the recovery. And we have been able to handle the supply chain, and we have delivered as we should do during the pandemic. The problem has only been that the OEMs, Airbus and Boeing, has not ordered enough. They have not produced enough aircraft. But we have remained profitable, and we have continued to invest in our projects. And now I can say we are really hoping and waiting for the turnaround in the aerospace so we could start to grow again. We talked about our strategy. During the pandemic, we have continued our strategy. We have invested in OEM programs, especially 777X and MC-21. We have made progress on large business jets. We have a cooperation with Airbus on the A320. We have developed or are in the development of a new dryer for retrofit and VIP aircrafts. We have invested in controls and software, and we have initiated a couple of projects regarding our humidifier pad and filters to improve our products for the future. During the pandemic, of course, we have relied on our very strong aftermarket. It's actually the aftermarket that has made it possible for us to stay profitable, even though we lost more than half of our sales. As you can see on the picture, the aftermarket started to grow again in the third quarter last year, but we still have about 50 million more to grow on an annual basis to come up to the level we had in 2019. We think it will continue to grow. It will grow with the reopening of international flights. When the countries open up for travel, we will have more long-haul travels that is important for us. Of course, the new Omicron, perhaps it slows down the recovery, but I think the international recovery will continue, but perhaps at a lower pace. We have invested during the pandemic, and as I said, before the pandemic, we were very much an OEM company. Half of our sales was to the big OEM programs. Now we have invested, so we think we can increase sales in retrofit installations, in private jets, and in freighters. If we look at the OEM, we are at a very, very low now. Especially the 787, as you know, they have problem not only with the pandemic, also with the quality of the production. But 787 will recover, so we are now at the lowest level. On the 787, we have a lot of content, and we have a good penetration also. So there, perhaps we can increase with cabin humidification. The A350 is produced better. I think they are at about 5 aircraft per month. There we could have better penetration by the airlines. 777X will go to customer 23, late 23. There we will get the growth, and also the MC-21 will go to customer perhaps next year, but late it's 23. As I talked a little bit about the opportunities, on the present programs, we could have more content on 787. We could have more penetration on 777X and A350. On the MC21, we could perhaps get anti-condensation and passenger cabin systems also. So on the existing programs, we have a lot of growth potential, but it is a little bit slower in the OEM world. If we look at new programs, of course, the most interesting for us is really the Russian-Chinese long-range aircraft CR929. There we have a chance to get passenger cabin, flight deck, crew rest, and anti-condensation. But of course, it will take a long time before that aircraft is developed, but it's, I think, for the future, very important. We have also a chance to sell more to the XLR or long-range Airbus narrow-body aircrafts. Of course, we can sell more and get optional, perhaps on the 321 family, 737 MAX with the anti-condensation system. And sooner or later, Boeing will build a new aircraft also. For the present programs, of course, we have a big advantage. We have a lot of airlines out there that have selected our systems for crew rest and flight deck on 787 and 380. And they will most probably select those systems also for 350 or 777X. So there we have a relatively easy way to grow. If we come to anti-condensation, we are at a low level of sales also now in this area, but we have loyal customers. We have Jet2 in England. They have now ordered 50 more A321 aircraft, so there we have a great potential. We are working already with Pobeda. They have their 737 fleet equipped with our drying system, and they will take about 40 aircraft more during 22-23. There we have good chances to grow. We think that the Russian market is optimum for us. It's a very cold country, a long winter, and they fly with their narrow-body aircrafts relatively long legs also. We already have Pobeda, which is perhaps the most interesting airline in Russia, but there is a lot of other airlines, so I think we have a good chance to capture a big part of that market, and that would increase our sales in the retrofit area, zonal drying. If we look at cabin humidification, I think there it is a little bit slower. Cabin humidification is, of course, most important. The long-range aircraft we have, perhaps medium range also, but the long international traveling must come back before it's feasible to sell system to those airlines. We have the best probability we have to sell to the 787 aircraft. We have systems out there on about 1,000 aircraft. They already have the drying system, so the only thing we have to add to get a comfortable cabin is really one humidifier. So you have a picture there to the right side that is actually Aeroflot's cabin in the A350. They have invested in cabin humidification. We could do the same on existing 787 aircraft. When we get into this market, I think we can have a follow-on. If some airlines start to invest in comfort and wellness, other airlines will follow. And it's a very cheap, or a relatively cheap way for an airlines to make a difference in this cabin. So I think it will take some time, but I think it's with the trends we have now with wellness, air quality, I think we have a really good opportunity for the future. If we look at the next segment where we have worked, I think most intensive during the pandemic is actually the private jet. You know that we have delivered over the years to many big VIP aircraft. We have our system on every aircraft type except the A380. I think we have delivered to more than 100 VIP aircrafts. During the pandemic, we have worked together with Airbus Corporate Jet. They have decided that they think that corporate jet aircraft should have a humidification system when they fly long haul. So we have improved our system for the A320 family, made it more friendly to install, and Airbus is now promoting that system as a kit. And their goal is actually that we should get all A320 aircraft equipped with humidification. That would bring us a lot more sales in the narrow body segment. In the future, I think we have the chance to do something similar with Boeing and the 737 MAX aircraft. We have, okay, I talked about this already, but this is the type of system we have developed for the 320. This is a 320 cabin. The advantage for us is that we now in the future will sell the same kind of kit to all A320 aircraft. It will not be customized for every single customer. But we have even invested more in the business jet market, and we are very interested in the business jets because we have higher quantities. The long-range business jets that are a little bit smaller than the 320 are produced in 50 to 100 aircraft a year. Here we have made a system for the global 7,500 aircraft. You see it on the left side. It went to customer in October, and actually I heard from the end customer yesterday that this system is they are very positive to the system and they really like it. This is in charter traffic for business jets passenger. We are also in the proposal stage on the Airbus business jets. It's called the 220. That is a passenger aircraft that Airbus is making a business jets version of. There, the supplier will be selected. I think it will not take too long time. There, again, Airbus has said that these aircrafts should be humidified, otherwise they are not comfortable. So there we have a huge potential. If we succeed on those both aircraft, I think we have even more chances to succeed also on the Gulfstream and the Falcon 10, perhaps. But Gulfstream is, for us, the most important third aircraft for us. It is a direct competitor to the global 7,500. So before the pandemic, we hadn't done anything in this area. And during those 2 years, almost now, we have invested most of our engineering efforts in this segment. And we have done that because it could be a huge contribution to our growth. We take the next, which we have looked into now the last half year, and that is, of course, the freighters. The freighter market, as you can see, is booming now because there is not enough capacities in the long-range passenger aircraft that is flying. There is pilots also in the freighter aircraft, so why should the pilots in the freighter have a less good working environment as in the passenger aircraft? I think it's really feasible to break in there. We have 2 programs. The one is the A350 freighter, which was launched now by Airbus a couple of months ago. And there we have a system. It's only for Airbus to decide that they should offer our 350 humidifier also for this aircraft type. And we would have the same situation with the 777X that will come. So I think we could have a good start thanks to the OEM there. And we could also work on those passenger to freighter conversion programs. We could retrofit when you so to say change the passenger to a freighter aircraft, and we could even install flight deck humidifiers in big aircraft fleets. So we will see what happens with freighters, but I think for us it's absolutely a possibility to grow over the next years. Last but not least, I think that we have managed the pandemic. A lot of things has changed in the world during the pandemic. We have got more focus on the air quality, the well-being. It's absolutely not healthy to fly long range in very dry condition. It's not healthy for the premium passenger. Back in the tourist class, there is better humidity. It's not good for the crew in an aircraft to fly dry. So I think we have taken a big step to get the cabin in long-range aircraft humidified. The other thing that has happened that has nothing with the pandemic to do is really the more discussion about sustainability. We have to do everything we can to save fuel and save CO2 emission, and this, I think, will be the next focus for the aerospace industry when the pandemic is over. We have a drying system, we have our anti-condensation system, which reduces CO2, and we have a lot of good discussions with the airlines. Before, we only talked to the engineering department by the airline or the maintenance department. Now we talk to the sustainability manager by the airlines. So we have one more way into the airlines, and this sustainability issue is also the airlines get more and more ready to pay for less emission. So I think we have managed the pandemic. We have invested in the right products for the future. We have different possibilities to grow, and we have actually tailwind, as we say in aerospace, with the drivers. We look more at the environment. We look more at our personal environment. So I think CTT is very good positions to start to grow again.
Perfect. Thank you, Torbjörn. So the first question before we go into all of these interesting long-term areas, when it comes to your view on the recovery that we're seeing, you mentioned a bit of the perhaps negative effects from a new version of COVID, but what do you yourself see in terms of aftermarket deliveries and deliveries of pads? So, because the important driver is, of course, recovering flight traffic, but you know, how fast do you see whether or not the traffic is improving?
Yeah, we have had an aftermarket sales the whole time. During the first quarters in the pandemic, it was very low, but that was because the airlines took their inventory. But now we see from quarter to quarter a steady growth, and as I said, we have 50 more millions to sell to come up to the same level as we had 19. What is left now is that they have used 350 and 787 on routes that is not the long range. Therefore, most of the aircraft are not flying as many hours per year as they did before. But that, I think, will happen. Perhaps it slows down a little bit for the moment, but 22, I think 23, we are back to the same level as we had before. That would be normal. And then, of course, we get more aircrafts coming out. Now we are a little bit unlucky that Boeing has not delivered very much, but they will start to deliver 22. We will start to get 777 out there, and we will get MC21. So our aftermarket will continue to grow. That's for granted. That's not the problem for us. If we sell system and they fly, the aftermarket grow.
And then on the just a follow up there on the Dreamliner or the 787, that Boeing have had some production issues for quite some time now. But what kind of indications have you heard when it comes to improve, a recovery in production rates or delivery to customers?
I think they are planning to deliver 5 aircraft a month during 22, and then they will go up. The problem they have for the moment, they are not delivering the 5. So they are down to fix issues with the aircraft they have already produced. But sooner or later, they will fix it, and then Boeing will be back. There is no question Boeing is such a company. They will fix the problem, and then they will start to deliver. And 787 is such a popular aircraft and such a good aircraft for the situation now. It's a long-range aircraft that is not too big. Everyone wants a 787, so they will fix it, and then we will start to grow again.
And then on the longer term aspect when it comes to the business jet side of things. In your traditional OEM aftermarket model, the sort of lifetime revenue is heavily skewed towards the aftermarket side. And in the systems that you, or the packages that you sell to the business jets, how should one think about the revenue split over time when you sell to an Airbus corporate jet or a Bombardier?
Yeah, as I said, we have sold to about 100 big VIP aircrafts, and the only difference between that sales and the OEM sales is that we get better paid at the initial sales. But then the VIP aircraft lives for a long time also. Perhaps they don't replace the pad as frequent because they don't make so many flight hours as the normal. The business jet, I think, will be a little bit in between. We have been able to make, or we will make the system more like kit, and hopefully we can get optional on both Bombardier and Airbus and Gulfstream. And then it will be between normal OEM sales and VIP sales. I think the pads will perhaps not be replaced every year. Perhaps it will be 1.5 or 2 years on the business jets because they don't fly 4,000 hours. We will see that. But it's the same model. It's the good thing with business jets, it's higher quantities than the VIP.
And the final question on the retrofit side, where you have you're talking about potentially offering retrofit humidification for the Dreamliner inside the business class segment, for example. Is this an area that you feel might be realistic in 3 years' time, or how do you feel about the prospects of entering that segment?
In the beginning, the retrofit is low now, but I think retrofit will grow already 22, and that's because of the drying system. You know, I've been around now for 25 years, and I have tried to sell drying system for 25 years. But I would say the opportunities we have now with the sustainability discussion, with the high fuel price, it has never been a better point to sell drying systems. So I think it will start with drying system. As I said, humidification for the cabin. Of course, the airlines that fly long distance have to start to earn money again and have to start to fly. Then that will kick in. It could also be helped by new aircraft that comes out with cabin humidification, like 350 and 777X. That will come one or 2 years later, but it's so digital. Either you get an order and then suddenly you have a lot to do, or you don't get an order. And the airlines we concentrate on to sell cabin humidification as a retrofit, that is airlines with big fleets. So if we sell to a big airlines, we have production for a year or two. So you never know exactly when it kicks in. But again, there we have never been in a better position really to sell cabin humidification as a retrofit also.
Understood. With that, our time is up. Thank you, Torbjörn, and thank you, CTT, for joining us today. Stay tuned for our next presenting company in 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much.